Welcome to the Breakaway USA podcast. My name is Gentry Jeevers. We have Fabian, and we also have It's Lily Kate. So I wanted to ask Lily, how did you even get started doing this?
A lot of people don't know my whole story. It's a funny story. I grew up homeschooled, Christian, conservative, been this way my whole life. I have 5 siblings. My dad was a pastor. I mean, it was the most traditional lifestyle you could ever name. And I, in high school, decided that I wanted to start doing YouTube videos. My sister, Annie Rose, started doing YouTube videos when she was 9 years old and built a massive following on YouTube when she was like 13, 14, 15. And when I was like 16, I was like, hey, I could like do this YouTube thing. So decided to go on YouTube. And I did about 3 years of vlogging. And I was very successful at it. We did, both her and I together, my sister and I, fashion and lifestyle and interior design and traveling and just all the most wholesome stuff you would imagine. Then we started spending a lot of time in LA, Hollywood, going to things like VidCon and Playlist Live and living up the celebrity life, I guess. And first of all, everyone was extremely miserable while we were there, as you could imagine. But it really just wasn't the right place for me. And I ended up having, this is so funny. I ended up having a fake relationship with someone, like a relationship on social media for views, essentially. And if I said this person's family, you would most definitely know who it was. I'm trying to distance myself a little bit. I'll just go ahead and say it. I fake dated JoJo Siwa's brother for like a whole year. I spent a lot of time with the family just to like make content. And unfortunately, he ended up falling in love with me. And I just really wasn't into it. I ended up falling in love with my neighbor back home. So through 2020, I kind of had stopped doing YouTube at that point. I was trying to figure out like what my path should be in life. And COVID happened, so no one went anywhere. I decided to start a business, decided to skip college. And being a Christian conservative already, I already had the framework and the foundation to be able to start building off of what I had. And I also had a bunch of social media skills. So it was just a natural step in the right direction for me. So I've spent a couple years now just developing and honing my political voice and I guess like my political carbon footprint. And like I said on the live stream, I really tried to find someone who would be a great source of why feminism is bad, because I would hear people throw out feminism's the reason why everything's toxic, why dating sucks, why this, and no one could ever give me a holistic story of where, why, how, what, when did it go wrong. I would just get bits and pieces. So I decided to fill that gap and become the person who was mostly calling out feminism and dunking on the feminists.
That's awesome.
Wow, I had no idea that you were like a mini Kardashian back in the day. That's so funny.
Dude,
I'm glad you mentioned that
too. Like it was really wholesome. It's really sweet. It just wasn't the right lifestyle the Lord had laid out for me.
Yeah. And you were coming to Hollywood a lot, like for like events and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What years was that? Was that like right before COVID?
Yeah, it was 2017, 18, and 19.
Oh, those are fun years. Yeah. So something you may not know about me is I worked in Hollywood nightlife for 9 years. So
Whoa.
I was throwing events, running clubs, doing all the celebrity stuff. So when you said fake relationships, I'm so glad you said that, because I've been telling everyone that everything is completely fake. Everything
100%.
you see is fake. And people, back then didn't believe me. They're like, no way. I saw it in the newspaper. I'm like, oh, okay. So you think that makes it true? When I would personally know these people who were in these fake relationships. Anyway, it's nice that you said that, because if you're listening out there, I told you so.
Yeah, and the thing is, it wasn't any like malice or facetious thing. We were just like, I was in a period where I was like, listen, I just got out of a really weird toxic relationship. I don't want to date anyone. I don't want to know, like I have to know them for a year. So I went to this guy Shark Tank style and I was like, although we can't date, I have a cool idea. And so we just like shook on it. And so again, it wasn't anything like super malicious, like maybe the Taylor Swift Jet situation, which we can get into that if you want, because I have all the theories about it. But it was just us being like, hey, let's do this so we can both mutually grow, because people love boyfriend girlfriend content. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh. So do you think Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift's relationship is a sham?
So I think it's a really great PR stunt because Taylor Swift always gets in trouble for using her private jet and flying it everywhere and leaving a huge carbon footprint. And so if you have her date someone who is with a team called the Jets, if you look up Taylor Swift Jets, from now on, all you're going to get is stories about her successful love life instead of articles bashing her for having a private jet. As an SEO, like social media kind of ranking person, like I understand that. It's brilliant, brilliant. And so maybe they like each other, maybe they don't. I don't know. I really don't pay that much attention, but that's totally my theory about like why the push is so big to have them together.
I'll have to correct you a little bit because Travis Kelce plays for the Chiefs,
Oh,
but when he did go play the Jets, she was there,
oh,
right? And
that's what
so
it was. Yeah, you
yeah,
can tell
yeah,
how little I actually know about like sports. LOL.
it's hard to keep up with pop culture when you are pop culture, right?
That's right. But yeah, this is a perfect opportunity for the left to create their couple, the next Bill and Hillary Clinton. Because
Wow.
think about it, Travis Kelsey, yeah, I mean, he is one of the greatest at his position. So what do you do after he gets done playing football? His fame is not going to die. You're going to run him and her for the presidency. They try to do it with The Rock, or they're trying to do it. I don't think it's going to work because he went on Joe Rogan and he kind of bashed Joe Biden, not anyone, anyone not following him. But he was in DC meeting with people.
Mm,
So you got Newsom, right? And then after Newsom, what do? You got to start building these people up. This is what the Kardashians did with those cousins, the
Jenners.
younger girls. Yeah, exactly. You got to always plan for the next generation. How are you going to market to them and profit off people?
hmm I
It's
don't know if
true.
they would run them as for president though. Like, do you think Travis Kelce could be president?
I think anyone could be president if you give a push that. But I won't say president, run for president. So all the leftists, all the people that grew up with Taylor Swift, she's literally the biggest celebrity on the planet right now. So when she's done singing, when Travis Kelce stops playing football, if you're Pfizer, you don't want this guy to stop producing for you. If you're any one of these million leftist companies that are using him and her to get the culture and break it down even more, then what do? You find something else for him to do and you put him in that role.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I'm trying to
I
make
think they're going
teams.
to run with Michelle Obama as far as they can before they put any big name football
Yep.
douche celebrity in there, but could be wrong.
Yep.
Well, normally I would say that a woman shouldn't be president, but Michelle Obama, Big Mike, isn't necessarily a woman. So, Lily, do you think that a woman should be president?
Oh my goodness. No, I don't. Not because I don't think a woman is, say, capable of holding office, like capable at all, um, or capable of accomplishing something like that. So it's not coming from a place of I think women are inferior and less and therefore not able to do it. I think a woman could. I don't think a woman should. The role of a president is hyper aggressive, hyper ambitious, hyper controlled. It's because the executive branch of the government employs like upward of 1 million people. How much power does the president really have? And a little bit sort of like the royal family, the president ends up turning into a bit of a symbolic cultural figurehead. And I think in America, that image we need to put forward of power, of dominance, of you'll never predict what he's going to be able to do on the world stage, so don't even try, of might, of victory, of strength, all the things. That's just not something that a woman can naturally project. I think women are okay as governors. I think that sends a fine enough image, but the commander in chief of the most powerful nation in the world, we are very proud of ourselves that we're powerful. Women are not a natural fit for power. Women communicate different things to the world than men do. So, for a cultural reason, I don't think people looking up and saying, oh, a woman is in charge of the United States is a good image for us.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. So you're very traditional in that sense that she could, but because of optics and the whole power dynamic thing, that she shouldn't, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So there's a thought that I've been seeing more and more of in my comments, that men have got us this far, so it's women's turn to take over. What would you say to that? I think it's just absolute garbage. But what would you say to that?
Are they saying that in the context of politics or in the context of work?
So I put up a bunch of polls on my X account, and I said, should a woman be president? Should, like, are women funny? Like just kind of trying to stir the pot, right, and get the conversation going.
Yeah.
And when I put up the poll saying should a woman be president, the overwhelming amount of people voted no. But then I got a more than a few comments saying, "Oh, men have got us this far. Look where we are. It's time for women to take over."
Okay. So in terms of politics, that is just a completely untrue statement. The country, I mean, it was, obviously we had the Civil War and that was kind of a big deal. We also had like the War of 1812. We've had a lot of like famine and industrial revolution since like the founding of America. But the country has gotten drastically worse once women got the right to vote. So first of all, that's like totally stupid. But on in a level of principle, if the statement was true, then or no, assuming the country isn't as bad as it is, there is a level of truth to the statement because in Christianity, the hierarchy is God, man, woman, child. And if man steps out of line of that hierarchy, then it's God, woman, right? If man just says, "Hey, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to sin. I'm going to be out of line," then the next best person is the woman. So if we were truly a serious country and we were truly serious and focused on preserving innocent life, preserving the traditions and the standards that we should have, it is a valiant thing for a woman to step in, especially if the men are actively failing. But the problem is, women have made the country a whole lot worse at a far accelerated rate than men. So it's just kind of silly.
In your kind of a worldview, what do you see the position of a woman as, and what duties to fulfill?
So good. This is like my favorite question. So it all starts with femininity. We have correctly identified a very severe lack of masculinity, and you have a lot of manosphere, gym bro science influencers talking about masculinity. So coming in the next chapter and what I'm preparing for is when girls turn around and realize that we have a severe lack of femininity. And so then you need to ask the question, well, what's the definition of femininity? And I personally believe the definition is grace, virtue, and beauty expressed by a woman. And when you look at all of those things, that is a very cultural position. Women uphold the standards and set the tone of a culture. Men typically adhere to those standards and on an individual level follow the standards that women set. And so I think the role of a woman is that much more personal, of course, relational, but cultural. Women, for all of history, have been the ones organizing philanthropic events, throwing galas, throwing birthdays. Women have been the ones organizing culture. Now, women don't do that because most of them are too busy working and then exhausted by the end of the day. So, women should embrace their role as culture builders. And yes, that comes along with being a person who gives life to the world, but not in just a completely strict sense of you can have babies. Like, obviously, that's important and worthy of so much praise, but life giving in terms of turning a house into a home, turning a sterile workplace into something fun with culture and community, or, turning a conversation from bland, stupid, crass jokes into something edifying, something easier to listen to, something a little bit higher status. So, women's role really is to elevate men, to civilize men, and to build culture through their true femininity, which is the true feminine power that they have.
And then so in that scenario, you would women be in the work environment, or would they be more of just purveyors of culture and cultivators of culture, and that, for to use two words that start with C.
Yeah, it depends. I mean, obviously, like not everyone has the same life. So, whatever context your life is in, if you're working, like I'm not going to try sit here and tell you like if you're a single woman, you should stop working. Like that's just not practical at all. But if you have a family, then you should really consider your priorities. So if you're a woman who is working, then find out how to do that in the most feminine way possible. If you're a woman who decides that she wants to be a mother and a wife full time, which I believe most women would be happier if they did so, and not just one individual woman, but most women generally, because then like you'd have a lot more ability to have friends and your kids will have friends and things like that. Then you should embrace femininity full scale in that role as well. So whatever context your life has, and also whatever personality you have, find the intersection of where femininity is best expressed and just follow that full scale.
Yeah, my last point on this subject that I want to make, because it kind of goes in line with one of my just worldviews, is that humanity that is traveling forward in time, right? It needs balance. So whenever you have one side that pulls too hard, it creates imbalance. Clearly, it's pretty easy. And I think right now, two things are true: that men have become way too feminine, and females have become way too masculine. So it's throwing off the natural balance of things. So when you said one thing very important, that you believe females are going to kind of reclaim femininity, which is what they've been taught to go against now. I think that when that happens, it's going to bring a lot of balance back to the way things, a traditional way of things that has gotten us this far.
Yeah, so true. And I'm excited for women to identify it, and I'm excited to greet them at the door of, hey, you can be beautiful, you can be virtuous, you can be noble, you can be all of those things that you want to be, that your heart knows that you would be happier if you were, and let's do this together. I want to eventually come out with, like a book called like Femininity Rehab, and teach women how to really connect with their femininity again, because that's what feminism does. It says that it wants women to be powerful, and men to be not powerful. But what it does is it removes women from their power source, which is their femininity, and tries to make them chase after a power source that is fueling to men, which is masculinity. And I'm like, okay, well, if it's not the right charger cord, then you're not going to be able to charge your phone. Got to get your power from the right place.
So then is that the your sole focus with your show, is to, I guess, show that to women? And then your book's coming out, I think you said
working on it.
You're
No
working on it.
set
Okay, so
date yet.
it doesn't have a date yet. It doesn't have a date yet. But I mean, is that going to be your sole focus then, is to be the counterpart to all of these like Andrew Tate red pilled kind of guys?
Yeah. I want to start the conversation with girls, because there are so many stupid girls who just don't like, they hear I'm not a feminist and instantly think that I like want them to be barefoot and pregnant all day. And I'm like, first of all, that's great. Like, I would love that. That's a dream right there. Like, and it's going to happen for me, but it's not for everyone. So yeah, that's my goal. And the show is going to be a lot of reactions, a lot of current events, a lot of things like that. But the undertone is going to be feminism, fighting. And this is my tagline. I always say fighting radical feminism with radical femininity, because it's the only thing that can really fight it in the most effective way. So the underlying message absolutely will be that. And maybe I won't have a whole lot of male viewers, and maybe I won't have a whole lot of women viewers. And honestly, that's okay. But I'll be there whenever they realize that they've been scammed by feminism and want to change the culture of their life.
Well, I think that's really important, that you're doing that, because the alternative, not alternative, but I guess alternative is the best word. But there's shows like Call Her Daddy, right? Which is just like unbelievably just debaucherous and shows women just the exact wrong way to live. So I'm really, really glad that you're doing this. I think you're going to have a pretty big impact, just to understate it a little bit.
You're so kind. No, you're literally my favorite. Your Instagram is always popping off. You're always so good to people. Like, I've never, ever heard a bad thing about you ever. So I appreciate what you're doing too.
Thanks.
I like that you're kind of an outlier right now in this culture with the way that you think. So I was asking you questions to kind of figure out how deep I can go. And at a certain level, I get what you're doing, and I think it's important because what you said is true. There is power in femininity, but there's a balance too between like having power in that and being powerless. And I think once ladies, if they can understand that without saying, oh, well, you want to, like you said, be barefoot and pregnant all day. I think that if you show them that, yes, there's power in that because you essentially are controlling the man to be civil. There's one thing I think about all the time. I rode my bicycle across the country during COVID, and
Oh, cool.
whenever my hair would get long or I wouldn't cut my nails for, too long, I'd start feeling like anxious and like kind of frustrated when I want to cut my beard, and I'm like, what's happening to me? Like, why am I feeling? And it's because there's a level of civility when when your hair's done and everything that you feel like that. And the more unlike that you feel more primal. And if there's no
Mm.
woman around you to say, hey, like you want me, you better shape up because the way you're looking is not going to work. Then it really forces men to get into that role where
Mhm.
they're take care more of themselves. So I definitely understand it from that like primal area, not even having to do anything with religion, but that's another level on top of it.
That's so funny. Aristotle Onassis said that all the money in the world would mean nothing if women didn't exist. And I think that's such a funny quote. And like, I'm not like sitting here trying to encourage girls to be gold diggers because I think that's wrong. But it's just funny because it's why do men do the things that they do? Why do they build civilization? Why do they build structure? Why do they build
Big yachts.
organization? Why? Yeah. Why do they do it? They do it because they want to maybe show off. They want to do it so they can have something that the women can then fill with people and make it beautiful. And so there is this beautiful complementary relationship. And now a lot of people probably may think that I'm saying women are the only ones who are powerful in the cultural conversation in terms of relationships and masculinity, femininity. And that's not true. I'm just taking a megaphone to the female part because I think that like we spend so much energy talking about women and dealing with women in such an incorrect way. But the truth is, femininity and masculinity inspire each other. So it has to come from both. Like there is no, okay, we start with femininity and then masculinity will get better. That's not how it works. Um, I think all sides need to be buffered or bolstered. Bolstered. That's the word I was looking for. All sides need to be bolstered. Well, and that way the kind of like circle of masculinity inspires femininity inspires masculinity and just keeps going around. That is really where we're going to get into a groove of okay, society's really fixing itself because men and women are embracing not only their power sources but what they're naturally inclined to want.
Hmm.
You are teaching something that's completely antithetical to what the left is teaching people. They're saying that all this is a social construct, postmodernism. It's all made by the patriarchy. They want to keep you enslaved. And I think the more people that learn about this leftist stuff, the more outliers or people that feel like something's wrong. So if you can amplify your voice and say, listen, you've been in this cult or whatever you want to call it, and you feel something's wrong, it's because your gut is correct. Let me tell
Your
you why
biology
it's
is
wrong.
telling you this is wrong.
Exactly.
Mm.
And they're being brainwashed to fight what their natural inclination is. And if you say, look, you're not wrong, they're the ones who are wrong, and they're trying to convince you that you're right. Look at them and how they look and how they're and their health, and look at the people on my side. Who looks healthier? Who looks happier? Who looks
Yeah.
nicer? Maybe we got something right that you might want to come check out. So let me tell you why I'm right and why what they're telling you is wrong.
Exactly. Well, and that goes back to the question we had on the live. How do we attract people our age? And my answer was we've been given a system that doesn't work, that's so depressing and terrible and traps people. And this is not only a financial system, it's impossible to have home ownership now. We know before you're like 50 years old. But it's even just a system of how the sexes are supposed to relate to each other. It's such a scam. It's such a lie, what we've all been told and taught about each other. And so, that's such an attractive message to people our age when we say, here's everything that you've been taught. And guess what? You're miserable. And you agree with me that you're miserable. Let's try something else. And that's really in a nutshell, like if I had to outline my approach, it would be that. I also I have a tendency of liking and enjoying making people mad. So I think that's like a small part of it as well.
Yeah.
But I'm just a little instigator over here. So problematic.
That's funny.
I mean, if you're a content creator, you also love to stir the pot. So
You gotta
I get it. I
see,
get it.
you have to play the short form game, but this is why we have long form, so we can edify, build up, build culture, create ideas, pursue like better things, collab with each other. So you got to be able to play all forms of content lengths because they're each a totally different game.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. You got to have the marketing with the quick clips with the long form Joe Rogan type stuff to get the entire because I mean, just to go to marketing terms, you have a lead generation. What is that? That's not your long form content. That's your short form content. And once people on the outside see and know, like, and trust you, those are the three things: know, like, and trust. Then they'll spend more time watching your long form content.
Yep.
But I think it's great that you're trying to reach those people who have been indoctrinated but feel like something's wrong. And typically and sadly, the choice, not the choice, but what's forced on them is to say, you know what, it's just because you don't get it. Once you're in it more, it's just like Scientology, then you'll understand it. Go get a sex change because that'll really prove to us that you're part of us. And if you're sitting there and all you see is these like old school conservative Hallmark movies and you're like, I don't identify with that at all, but I don't identify with this either, but I know these people. I don't know them. I'm scared to talk to them. They're so different than me. Let me just go deeper into this cult instead of saying, hey, like I'm the intermediary between Hallmark and nose ring and green hair.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I mean, everything is marketing, everything is branding. So if conservatives can figure out how to brand themselves well, then we're going to start winning. I come from like a very like visual background. My mom's like a total artist, psychology major, like everything is visual. We grew up, she was a photographer, like she would always take pictures of us. And then coming from the Hollywood world, like all of it is marketing. So, and conservatives, we're just naturally behind on everything, but I think we're starting to get a better hold on how content should work and how it should look. And that's why the left is running in so much terror right now, or calling us worse names than we've been called before. Because honestly, like we're learning how to play the game a little bit better. And every time we get a video with lots of views, we feel empowered. Every time we get supportive comments, we feel empowered. And that's just building our machine. So, my thing is always like, I'm never going to embrace the ugliness is better culture. I'm never going to like leave the house not looking like halfway decent. I'm never going to be unprepared for a conversation, whether it's at the gym or at the grocery store or just like randomly. We need to take on branding and marketing ourselves very seriously so that we're able to entice people visually. See, that's why I always use my purple hair filter on my TikToks. I have this big long hair and I put this purple filter over and I pretend to be a feminist. No one else uses that filter because I've capitalized on it, but people know me now as the purple hair filter girl. It's hard to say, purple hair filter. Say that 5 times fast, but they know me as that now. And that's branding. That's marketing. That's a shtick. So if every conservative influencer, creator, or just person in normal life can figure out their shtick, then we would have so much more success because we'd be better at branding. But if you're listening and you're thinking, well, my shtick can be a great Donald Trump impression, I promise you there is another white guy out there who has a much better Donald Trump impression than you. So just don't even start.
That's funny. Like the guy at Amfest.
That guy's
the Donald Trump guy.
Yeah,
good.
It's already been taken. It's already been done.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you've listened this far, don't forget to follow all of us. My @ is Gentry Jeevers. Fabian's is Fabian Lux. And do not forget to follow It's Lily Kate on Instagram and on X. Thank you so much.